Oh shit. Here we go again.
Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? Hello. What's shaking? Wow, there's dead silence. Okie dokies. All right, everybody. Just tuning in. Hey, what's up, Aaron? Hey, Slim. Hey, Moises. I starved to death in Subnautica 2. Ooh, disappointing to hear. Disappointing. What are you going to do? Anyway, everybody, we're going to start looking into we're going to start looking into some stuff and start to decide what the heck we're going to do. So we're going to watch some videos. I put a little list together. Watching NBA and you. Who's playing? NBA. Ooh, they're in the playoffs. NBA's in the playoffs. Anyway, we're going to watch some stuff on Spirit Walker and we're going to see what's coming, you know, whether or not it's something that's going to appeal to me. I got to say, I'm a little bit, I'm on the fence just because I know it's going to be popular and I don't know if I want to play what everyone else is playing. But who knows, right? Patch notes are not out yet, so we're not going to get that till 1, 2, 3, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days. We're going to get the patch notes in 4 days. So I thought it'd be a good idea to start looking into stuff. And Spirit Walker's the one that's talking to me the most. But we'll see. Spirit Walker, Texas Ranger. Yeah, NBA is where it's at. You know, I'm a student of the game. Out of all the sports, I'm NHL, 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 NHL. That's about it. Like, that's the sport I watch the most of. Although I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't have time to watch a lot of TV. You want to get Silver Fist to fight Viper. Yeah, you and about 1 million other people. Aaron, excuse me. Anyway, we're going to watch some videos. I got a bunch lined up. All Spirit Walker, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. I'm so parched. Anyway, it was a beautiful day here in Toronto. Really hot. I got some sun, as you can see. I had a couple of beverages. And yeah, I'm in a good mood. I'm for Brazil, so it's football. Oh my God. Sorry. NHL, 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 soccer. Yes, that's my second favorite sport. And we're what? We're a month away. We're a month away from the World Cup. I can't wait. Can't wait. Gonna watch all those games. It's gonna be awesome. All right. What are we gonna watch first? Okay, so I thought let me go. Fuck. I thought we go here, and we'll watch the 7-minute video on the Spirit Walker, and then we'll watch some videos.
We mountain-born hold the spirit dear, but I seek not just to hold it. I seek to become its champion, like the Asmiri of old. I seek to become a spirit walker.
In Return of the Ancients, we're adding an ascendancy class for the Hunters, the Spirit Walker. We covered some of this in our recent content review, but here we will dig deeper and even showcase some potential builds. Most of the ascendancy class is devoted to 3 aspects of the Spirit: Vivid, Primal, and Wild. The Vivid path conjures stampeding stags when you attack. Vivid Stampede gives you extra damage, area coverage, and shocking capabilities. If you want to really focus on the stags, the Morrigan's Guidance lets you create even more stampedes with even more damage, trampling your enemies into dust. The Primal path, meanwhile, is all about projectiles. The Owl grants you boons in the form of their feathers, which can be spent to add extra projectiles to your next skill. If you'd rather unleash the occasional barrage, the Mucker's Gift lets you store up and use multiple feathers at once.
Yes.
And if you're really keen, the Owl feathers work on spells too. For those who prefer their animal companions to be more literal, summon a Wild Protector to give your enemies a bear hug they won't soon forget. The bear is a powerful companion in its own right, and can also provide significant utility. Breaking enemy armor, maiming enemies, violent intimidating roars, and keeping itself fit to fight with its large health pool and life leech. Best of all, the bear doesn't even take up your companion slot, so you can keep your tame beast alongside you too. The Cartha's Balance skill can take your companion's damage one step further by giving them extra damage based on your weapon. Spirit Walkers who master all 3 aspects of the spirit may attract the favor of the elusive Sacred Wisps. The Sacred Unity passive is free. It provides enhancements to all 3 skills. The Stags seek out enemies and can turn mid-stampede.
Free
Owl Feather empowered skills create a new type of ground effect. And the Bear protects allies near it. Taking this node also causes all 3 skills to change appearance to reflect their sacred empowerment.
Jesus.
The Spirit Walker has a couple of tricks up her sleeve outside of animal spirits. Idolatry provides massive bonuses to more minion-focused builds. And last, but definitely not least, the Natural Order passive grants Tame Beasts the ability to tame bosses. Yep, all of these.
9 of them.
It probably won't come as a surprise to hear that these bosses can cut through packs and bring the pain to their former friends. If you like the look of the Spirit Walker, but need some further inspiration for what to do with her, we've put together a couple of in-game builds to give you ideas, kindly made by some of our developers. First up, we have the Stormbringer. We have a standard-looking Twister build dialed to 11, where we utilize Whirling Slash and Barrage to unleash Twisters to devastate our enemies. We will use a combination of Barrage and our new notable Primal Bounty to create so many Twisters it more resembles a full Cyclone. Allocating Wild Protector, Primal Bounty, and Vivid Stampede will unlock a notable that empowers all 3, giving them more utilities and features. Thanks to Primal
That looks
Bounty
like a
and the
menacing
Mucker's
crew.
Gift, we generate a Primal Owl Feather every few seconds that will be used when we dodge roll to empower our next projectile attack, firing more Twisters and increasing their speed. But now, we want to start to empower our Wind Ruckus with the elements, gaining significantly more damage. To do that, we take Vivid Stampede, which grants us a vivid wisp every 10 meters we travel, which we can do faster by following our soaring ground. And then we expend those wisps to unleash a stampede of stag spirits. Not only do they help kill enemies, they also create shock ground. There you have it. All that combined, we have our Stormbreaker. And for our second build today, we have the Zookeeper. This build is for those who prefer to sit back and let your animal army do all the work.
I definitely won't be doing this.
The Spirit Walker has enlisted the entire zoo to fight on her behalf, with a whopping 6 companion skills active. This is thanks to Sylvan's Effigy, a new unique scepter coming in Return of the Ancients that completely removes the companion cap, and also gives us a big bad alpha wolf that buffs all our other companions. We've also got a pack of regular wolves, 3 different tame beasts, including the mighty Silverfist, and our trusty bear, with our last bits of spirit used on some skeletal clerics to keep everyone healthy.
The zoo build.
All you have to do is sit back and enjoy the show, and maybe remind your alpha wolf to summon its spirit friends every once in a while. This might be a good time to mention that companion damage has been buffed across the board. This build squeezes maximum value out of Spirit Walker's Idolatry node, even wearing Darkness Enthroned to equip more idols. Finally, we're going all the way to the Cartha's Balance and wielding a juicy spear to grant our companions a lot of damage.
And then do Druid and Tactician. I suspect this league's going to be multiple characters.
Are you ready to embrace the full power of the Spirit? You can do just that on May 29th, when Return of the Ancients releases.
I gotta say, I'm more leaning towards the first one, like that showcase build that they did.
Return of the Ancients.
Not this one.
To do that, we unlock a notable that empowers all 3.
This one is
giving
more
them
up
more
my
utilities
alley.
and features. Thanks to Primal Bounty and the Mucker's Gift, we generate a Primal Owl Feather every few seconds that will be used when we dodge roll.
Too many minions. Like, you know, thank God the Huntress sounds like it's going to be like a hybrid. You're going to have companions, but you could also not have like a zoo full of them. So it's going to be interesting. The first one they did, and the developer showcase is more up my. I don't want to sit back and let my minions do all the work. I want to be involved. You can never have too many. No, I get it. I get it from like having all those companions, minions, whatever you want to call them. Like, I get it. Like, yeah. It's potentially can be a breeze, but that's why I don't play Witch, like, with all the minions. Like, it's not up my alley. But I get it. It's going to be, there's a lot of people that really like minion builds, so no worries. Good thing is there's a lot of options with the Huntress, so I'm going to tame Silverfist and Sycamon Viper. Nice. Make sure you clip it. Put it on Discord. Okay, Crip has a video. Boss Tame Beast Theory for Spirit Walker. Now, Crip, he knows what he's talking about. So by the way, I've not watched any of these videos. I just picked them out. And hopefully, after watching these 4 or 5 videos, we'll be better informed here. Let's see. Crip knows what he's talking about. So I'm very interested to...
Hey guys, how's it going? Criparian here. Today we have another Path of Exile 2 video. In this video, I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of the intro to how minions work in Path of Exile 2, because I will be playing the new Spirit Walker, and I imagine a lot of you guys are going to at least entertain the idea of playing the Spirit Walker. Spirit Walker is a new class in Path of Exile 2 that uses companions in addition to just normally attacking stuff. It's very hybrid style play style.
Beautiful.
And a lot of people haven't really dealt with companions in Path of Exile in general. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a deep dive. Now, I'm not going to go too into a lot of the things that are unknown, but we actually do have, and I've studied a lot of it now, do have a lot of information on how the companions will work and roughly what performance we may expect. So first thing we're going to take a look at is their video where they showcased the companions in action against the boss. Now, obviously, we don't know how strong these are in, like, if we put together a build, how well that's going to work. We don't know that because the build they're showcasing, it looks kind of scuffed a little bit. But what we can see is the relative power between the minions. So in this case, they have, like, it only shows up as 1, but this is like 7 or 8 or 9 of the new wolves that come from the unique scepter. So we have that. We have 7 of the wolves that are from the wolf companion skill that's currently in the game. We have a this like multi-armed gorilla tame beast. We have the plague harvester tame beast, which is kind of like the mosquito looking thing. And then we have the boss here, which is mighty silver fist. Okay. So those, oh, and the bear. So those are all the things that are attacking the boss. It's pretty hard to see, but you know, if you really zoom in, the boss has like 1,400,000 damage taken. It kind of shows kind of like a combo of damage that you've done. So that's kind of where we're at. And if we play it in like 0.25 slow motion, we see the boss getting pelted with all those minions, and it is doing absolutely no damage. Absolutely nothing. So what we do know is that this minion army, the double pack of wolves, including the Wolves from Spectre, really is doing nothing. Considering there's like almost 20 of them, they're hitting for like a couple thousand each from the looks of it, which is very poor damage. And then there's this lightning attack that comes, which I believe is the affix on the Plague Harvester, the bee-like wasp thingy here, mosquito thing. That is doing a lot of damage. Okay, that did like 100,000, 170,000 maybe. It's hard to say for sure. So that does a lot. That is an affix of the monster. That is not the monster actually attacking, because when you use Tame Beast, you actually keep some of the affixes. Okay. And then it keeps going, and then the Mighty Silverfist hits it for well over 200,000 with the slam attack. So basically, we don't know how good this will really be, but what we do know is that the Mighty Silverfist does way more damage than the other minions, okay? It does way more damage. It is not even close. And this isn't a build that actually scales all of these minions fairly evenly. So all these minions are pretty much have like a par on their damage output, yet the boss minion is doing way more damage than all of them. So today I want to kind of go over what the best boss companion for you to tame is. The boss companion is a specialty of the Spirit Walker. We do have the values for these different monsters. How it actually works in-game is still a little bit of guesswork, so I can't tell you that this will do this much damage, all that kind of stuff. But what we can see is how good the tameable bosses are relative to each other. That is something that we can know right now. And I think it's important because they did mention that they're buffing companions across the board. And when they hover over their companion Mighty Silverfist in this video, we see that there's this line here that does not exist in the current version of the game. Minions deal 100% more damage. They also say in the interview that they triple the damage of companions. So it might be other than this. To be fair, currently, companions with their actual attacks do like absolutely nothing. They hit like wet noodles. It is an absolute joke. But this changes things. Now, we don't know if this is part of the original gem because this Tame Beast gem is with the boss gem. So it might be a modified version. This minions deal 100% damage might actually be specific to the boss Tame Beast. And I think it is a guess, but I think that's actually pretty likely because the bosses themselves don't have like super ridiculous, crazy damage numbers. They're good, but they're not super crazy ridiculous. Another thing I want to point out is that Path of Exile 2 has been out a while. We also have Path of Exile 1, and the same people that are making Path of Exile 2 with the same ideas and the same concepts in mind have made Path of Exile 1 what it is today, which is a masterpiece. They do not balance monsters based on the summoned minion version of them. Okay, so what that means is they're not going to buff monsters so the tame beasts can be stronger. Okay, if the tame beasts are too weak, they would do something like this. They would add a line so if you tame them, they will actually do significant damage. Okay, this is in line with how they have balanced things in the past. So today we're going to look at some of the bosses. So I painstakingly went through every single beast boss in the game. And the beast boss will be quite a journey to get. You can get tablets that add affixes to the monsters, like the affixes on a rare mob, for example. So you can get tame beasts with up to 4 affixes, and I think it is well expected that we will be able to tame bosses with affixes. So it will not be go up to the boss, tame him, and you're done. No, it will be a real hunt for the best tame beast out there, and
Wow,
that is important. I will get to that in a minute here on why that matters. It will be a long process to get the exact affixes, like the perfect damage, the speed, maybe you want an aura on the exact boss you're looking for. That will be a real journey that might last the entire season, actually. So the beast bosses, there are quite a number of them, and I want to show you guys a few of them that I think are worth kind of talking about. So this is kind of like the typical beast boss. So it's a beast, and I am boss of tier 12, okay? Now, this is POE DB, so they have these values data mined. These are not guesses, but how these are interpreted in the game based on map levels and all that kind of stuff is a little bit of guesswork. How they're interpreted in terms of minion calculations is another little bit of guesswork. Now, I did standardize all these bosses to level 90, so it's not like this boss will deal 7,000 damage. We don't know if it'll really, we don't think it's probably not going to be that. It's going to be something, but if we standardize the data mine values to a level 90, we can see that the Sandstrider damage is higher than the Scourge of the Skies damage, okay? And they have different attacks, and you can kind of see the different attacks and their cooldowns, and there are a lot of things that come from this because knowing which unique boss you're going to tame is directly going to shape how you approach your build. There's no one-size-fits-all for all the different bosses. Some bosses use spells, some bosses use attacks, some bosses use AoE attacks. Some bosses have really crappy damage, but then they have a cooldown ability that does lots of damage, so you need to get minion cooldown recovery. So there's a lot that goes into it. You really need to pick your guy and then make your build around it. That's how it's going to work. So here's some guys. So Scourge of the Skies, I picked this because, in my opinion, this is the most dangerous boss in the game. It is the one that flies up and does tornado crap and sucks you in, and you don't know what's going on, and then you're dead.
Oh,
okay,
shit.
This thing is
That
an
guy.
absolute monster. However, when we look at the actual
he's an
damage values,
asshole.
they're not that high. They're really not. And the idea is that some bosses use abilities that players find difficult to avoid, which makes them really dangerous, more so than the
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, they used he was in the fight. He was in the fight. No, not this one. When they showed it, I'm pretty sure that's the one that they had tamed.
And for our second build today, we have the There you have it. All that combined, we have our Stormbreaker. And for our second build today, we have the Zookeeper. This build is for those who prefer to dig deeper and even showcase some potential builds. Most of the Ascendancy class is devoted to 3 average and damage to add extra projectile barrage. Our feathers work on spells to be more forget. Also maiming and making itself fit to fight the bear.
We gotta find one
Further
against the nature's
to master
order.
all to all speed Our feather-empowered skills create their sacred empowerment. The Spirit Walker has a couple of tricks up her sleeve outside of animal spirits. Idolatry provides massive bonus, but definitely not least, the Natural Order passive grants tame beasts the ability to tame bosses.
It's coming up.
Yep, all of these. It probably won't come as a surprise to hear that these bosses can cut through packs and bring the pain to their former friends.
No.
If you like the look of the Spirit Walker, but need some further inspiration for what to do with her, we've put together a couple of in-game builds to give you ideas.
That's the one, right? Am I wrong? This is the one. That's the one Crip's talking about.
Actual damage values. Monsters are not going to try to dodge attacks of your minions, so that is relevant because the most dangerous bosses are not necessarily the ones that are most fit to be tamed beasted. Also, we have these lines here that generally impact the values that we see for minions, and I don't think have much of a factor in the actual game. So it will get 288% life, possibly of normal, and 250% damage. These are fairly good, but fairly normal values. You will find normal or rare monsters that have similar values to these. Okay, so that's like Scourge of the Skies. Sandstrider, another one, you know, the life is the same, the damage is a little bit higher, the damage values are a little bit higher, but this is the shark boss, by the way. Some attacks have less damage, which is not factored in this, and some attacks do more damage. So it's also important to kind of see the slew of possible attacks, and ultimately we'll have to really play with this to really know how well it will work. This is the shark boss, for example. So these are actually not very good. I've gone through all the beasts, and how are these not very good? Well, remember that not all beasts have the same reservation costs. So some beasts are going to be not very good, but certainly they're going to reserve less spirit. So if you're playing the build where you have many different companions, or perhaps you want to fit in many different auras, it might actually make sense to use a more middle-of-the-road boss because of a favorable spirit cost. That's absolutely possible. So it doesn't mean that these are completely worthless, but it does mean that if you are making a build where you want maximum output of your boss beast, this is definitely not what you want to pick. There are a few choices that I think are actually very good. And the one that they used in the highlight is the Mighty Silver Fist. So the Mighty Silver Fist is actually the jungle runes. It's the campaign version, but we're going to want to get the map versions of these bosses because we want to put affixes on them to keep those affixes for our tamed boss beasts. Okay, so the Mighty Silver Fist is actually, in my opinion, the best one, and I'll go over as to why, but the map version is Zekoa the Head Crusher. Okay, so it is absolutely identical in terms of how it works. It's literally just the map version of the boss. Now, this one is also in boss rush area. This is kind of the channeled bosses in a unique map, but your tablets do not work on unique maps. At least right now they don't. So you cannot put affixes on this one. If that changes, it's actually really good because, you know, it's going to be hard to find one with good affixes. So in my opinion, the Head Crusher is the best one. Let's have a quick look. So it has 250% life. It has even 0 all resist, which is actually good because a lot of monsters have a resistance that's very crazy high and another that's very crazy low. When it comes to balancing their resists with passives and gear, that actually becomes very challenging to do. Often a positive resist is wasted. The damage multiplier for summon is 463%, which is actually ridiculously high. I don't believe there is a normal or rare monster that has a percentage this high. So this is the actual boss tier of damage percents. Actually crazy high. The base damage, again, we don't know if this is really accurate. The base damage, like 13k, and most attacks do like 2.5k. But if you look at like Scourge of the Skies, you know, it's basically double that, right? So relatively, it's going to hit as a minion. It's like, I don't know how much damage this is going to do, but this is going to do twice as much, okay? So that's what we know, is what I'm trying to say. Now, if we look at the abilities are actually very interesting. So we have kind of just like an attack that does, 2 seconds attack time, which is unfortunately pretty long, pretty good damage. A cleave, the cleave has a cooldown, 6.5 seconds. So you have cleave left, cleave right. I don't know if this go back to back or if it just does separate cooldowns. I don't know. And then we have the quadrilla boss spin, 16-second cooldown. It doesn't seem to do that much damage though. And then we have the abilities at the bottom. So we have the quadrilla boss react slam, 300%, 200% more attack damage. So this is actually not factored into this number. So this is absolutely ridiculous damage. Possibly this is what in the video clip, what the Silverfist used to hit the boss to result in that like 200,000 plus damage hit. We also have the Sunder attack, which is 50% more damage, also very good. And then we have our roll, which is 80% less damage. This is terrible damage, and this has a cooldown associated with it. Now, this is very interesting because if we look at all the abilities, what we really want the Silverfist Head Crusher to do is not have cooldown spams, right? We don't really want it to cleave that often. We certainly don't want it to roll that often. What we want it to do is use this slam attack as much as possible. So I have a theory that the best way to scale the damage of this particular tame beast is through attack speed, because the more attack speed you have, the more spammable attacks you get. But it's not one-to-one. Like if all you did were spammable attacks, and you get like 10% attack speed, your damage would go up 10%. But the cooldown abilities do less damage than the spammable attacks. So you actually want the Silverfist to cycle through the abilities with cooldowns as quickly as possible so that it can spam the spammable attack more. So with this knowledge of the abilities, I believe your aim for the Silverfist Tame Beast is to acquire no cooldown reduction at all. Actually, if you were able to increase the cooldown somehow through some new stats or something, that would probably be good for the Silverfist, because 10% attack speed is going to be more than 10% damage, seeing as the cooldowns are actually bad. So it's going to be like 10% attack speed is like 15 or 20% more damage. So it's very interesting, and definitely avoid minion cooldown reduction if you're playing with the Head Crusher or Silverfist. There are a few other notable mentions for the bosses. I am mostly going to focus on the Head Crusher. That is going to be my choice, but there are a few others that are pretty good. We have Morvac the Infernal. So that's the guy when he opens the gates and he just kind of pounds the ground and he's like huge. He actually has more base damage than the Head Crusher. So why do we not consider this one? So a few things. The first thing is the resistances are, again, very poor. So 75 fire, but then negative 30 cold. It's going to be almost impossible to cap the cold resist, which means it might die from time to time. These tamed beast bosses do not have exceptional health pools. 300% is not the highest among specters. You might not invest that much in minion life, and they're going to get in the action, so they're going to get hit. If you're at like terrible cold resist with this guy can die. So that would suck. Okay. If we look at his attacks actually do generally more base damage because his base damage is higher. But a lot of them convert the physical damage to fire. Now, this is why what I talked about, it's important to kind of know how these attacks behave, because you shape your build around it. If you want to shape your build around, reducing the fire resist of the enemies in addition to breaking armor for the physical portion, this might actually be a pretty choice specter. From my understanding and from watching this boss do damage, it is a good choice. It is a good choice, straight up. This is a good choice. This is a good boss, but you have to build it differently. I think this boss does a little bit worse clear speed. It's much more of a single target boss. And also you have to find ways to lower the fire resist of the enemy for these to be significant. Otherwise, these will do much less damage going up against high fire resist targets. Okay, so this is special mention number one, and special mention number two is the Black Crow. The Black Crow has much less damage percent. but it's
That the one in
pretty
the
good still.
interludes?
Like it's comparable damage. It's a little bit slower, but it has some leaps, and there are several attacks have this more attack damage multiplier that I think actually would bridge it. Like I wouldn't entirely write off the Black Crow, but I would be very surprised if it does outperform both the Head Crusher and Morvac the Infernal.
Oh, these are the map
I'd
versions.
be very surprised, but it's possible. So those are the three to keep in mind. Now, the reason why I think the Head Crusher is better than the other two is also because he shows up in two areas, Riverside and Rupture. Of course, this can change. The reason why you keep fighting this monster when you're doing your waystones or maps, whatever you want to call them, is because he's literally in more of them. He's literally in more of them. And, you know, if you are able to use tablets on the unique map, he will be in even more of them. This means that because you're hoping for a perfect combination of affixes on these, this means that you're literally going to go through twice as many Silver Fists or Head Crushers as you are Morvacs and Black Crows, and that is significant. So even if all three of these were exactly equal to one another in terms of power, most likely you will end up with a Head Crusher, because most likely you'll have a better one because you encounter twice as many possible rolls on their affixes. And because of that, you generally should shape your build around the attack pool of Zakora Head Crusher Silver Fist. Okay, so that's kind of where all that goes. Now, there is a few kind of skills I want to talk about, how to kind of max the damage of these tame beasts. Idolatry, I really looked into it a little bit. You basically have to use idols in your equipment. I don't think the companion damage is worth it. The idols are generally very bad and generally will lower the power of your character. So you might use an idol to get the companion damage, but then your character is weaker because you're using an idol instead of a rune or something else. They did mention that they're adding lots of new runes, but they didn't say anything about idols. We might not actually see more idols, and some idol options are very crappy. In some slots, especially like weapons, you probably still won't use idols, which means you'll actually have a real resistance penalty from this. I don't love it, okay? The natural order gives you the unique beasts. And I do want to kind of go over the Katha's balance. Companions deal additional attack damage equal to 60% of your main hand weapon damage. Now, this means that we want a weapon that does lots of damage. Now, I also want to mention with this, so if we're using this, if we're using the bear, if we're using the unique tame beasts, if we're not using idolatry, what are we using? So I actually think the Vivid Stampede is very good. You basically have to move 20 meters. There's not a lot to get a charge of a wisp. And then when you attack, it uses up to 3 wisps to send out some stags. And the stags' base damage is 362. And they do lightning damage, which means you can reliably shock potentially if you have enough weapon damage on your character. And they can hit multiple times. We don't know if you can hit the same target multiple times, but it looked like a really good clear based option. So I'm really looking at this. And the reason why I'm mentioning is you want a weapon that does pretty good damage to Vivid Stampede for more damage. But you also want a good weapon for your Katha's balance. So 60% of it is added to your companion damage, including your Head Crusher. Now, the Head Crusher has pretty high base damage, but the Tactician currently has a node that's similar to this, which adds 25%, and it is noticeable. It is absolutely noticeable. So I don't know how the math works behind it, but I'm expecting this to give a sizable amount of damage to your companions, including your hero companion if you're kind of going all in on the Head Crusher. So why is this relevant? This is relevant because how do we use the weapons? The best weapon is a talisman, and you can use a talisman with a scepter. You will want to use a scepter because scepters have plus minion skills and really good minion stats, including minion attack speed, which, as I mentioned, acts as a ridiculous damage multiplier, particularly for the Head Crusher. Now, this might be the skill tree that I use. I'll see.
Wow.
a few choice companion nodes. They are adding more companion nodes, so it's not final. But I also think that, the rage mechanics are very good, and the best rage nodes for efficiency are the ones if you're shapeshifted, because commanding rage, every rage grants you 1% minion damage, every rage grants you 1% minion attack speed. That is so much damage. You can get about 60 rage fairly comfortably with this setup, and that's 60 minion attack speed. That is a tremendous multiplier for damage if the Head Crusher works as I'm expecting it to, okay? And that really encourages you to play with a talisman. Now, a talisman is important because remember how I said this scepter sucks? I generally said the scepter sucks because the stats are really bad. It also cannot be used with a talisman because Lord of the Wilds requires that you use a non-unique scepter. So that's why I think it's not very good. It's not very good because it's just not very good. It seems like the Asmarian wolves that come from it are pretty crappy. The stats on the item are not very good. If you're using only percent reservation-based companions, which you're probably going to look to do because the other dog skill kind of sucks too, the percent increased spirit doesn't help. Allies in your presence regenerate life? Who cares? All attributes? That could be good, but it's probably not that good. Companion deal increased damage to marked targets. Not bad, but that doesn't help clear speed because you're not going to be able to mark all the monsters. So if you have like tough rares and multiple, again, maybe not that good. So as opposed to like a rare scepter where you can get an aura better than discipline, first of all, you can get a lot more minion damage. You can actually get crit related stats for your minions as well. You can get minion life to save on passives, and it looks like you're going to be spread pretty thin on passives. And most importantly, you can get minion attack speed, which is a literal damage multiplier on your companions. So this is very poor choice. I don't think this is a bad item. I think it's a totally different build. But if your goal is to get like the most damage out of a Head Crusher, which I think will be the best way to play the character, this is not going to get you that goal. This is for like using lots of different companions and having like the army playstyle, which might have advantages for clear speed. Okay, so let's look at weapons. What are the best ones? So the best one is a Jade Talisman. Let me zoom in here just so you can kind of see this a little bit better. The Jade Talisman is 101 to 151, and it is a talisman allowing you to use it alongside a scepter. It lets you use Pounce, which gives you a damage multiplier to the target up to 65%. It'll probably get nerfed, but it'll still be some percent. I imagine they're not going to redesign the skill entirely, hopefully. The stat requirements are very reasonable, so you're going to have just kind of like a normal functioning character. This is an outrageous amount of damage for a two-hander. It's almost unparalleled. There's like 2 weapons in the game that have a higher damage range. The reason why it's so overpowered is because it's slow. The speed does not matter for giving the damage to your minions. And it has a low crit chance, which also does not matter because you're only giving the damage to your minions. So this is super ideal, but it actually gets better than that. There is a affix, that is desecration only suffix, that gives you companion attack speed up to 18%, which again is an extra damage multiplier for this type of build. So this is absolutely insane. There is not a better weapon than like a 1000 plus damage Jade Talisman with this suffix for this build. There is no better one. But there's a few honorable mentions for different use cases, especially for those that don't want to go to that side of the tree or want a little bit of a different setup. My favorite pick is actually Spire of Ire. So it doesn't actually say that it has to be physical damage on your weapon that goes to your minions. So Spire of Ire has chaos damage. And chaos damage is really good because monsters don't resist chaos very much, so you don't really have to invest in additive chaos damage or chaos damage debuffs for your minions to make full use of this. This is relevant because you're probably not going to invest in whatever damage your weapon has. I really like the Spire of Ire because its stat requirements are basically 0. You need 150 dexterity to use the Tame Beast Gem at max level, and 36 strength is just a few supports. This is literally 0 stat requirements, so you can make a build that does not go very far from Ranger and easily use this item along with the rest of your gear. 0 stat requirements is very significant. It has a very high attack speed, so your character will use spear attacks and just feel really smooth. It does very respectable damage, so the damage range here is very good. It also does non-zero base physical damage. You're going to be looking at maybe about half, maybe a little bit less than half of the damage of a talisman that is a good Jade talisman that's rolled, right? But this is a 0 investment weapon, so 0 investment, no passive tree investment, not having to like roll weapons, just nothing, no extra affixes, no going to the left, just nothing. Just slap this on and it's good. You also have up to 20% leech off of your chaos damage. So this giving you recovery, which was one of the main weaknesses of playing the build and not expanding far away from the Huntress Ranger area. I call it Ranger because I'm a POE 1 guy, you know. So just very, very good weapon. I really like this weapon. The Atziri Spear is close to it, but I believe Spire of Ire is much more common than seeing like an Atziri Spear, and I think it's actually a little bit better. So very, very good item here. We also have the Hammer of Faith. Now you're thinking, wait, that's a two-hander. You're going to lose a scepter. You're not going to lose the scepter. The idea is that if you are traveling that way, you can pick up Giant's Blood. You can wield two-hand axes, maces, and swords. Just maces, basically, because the other two don't exist. In your main hand, your strength bonus is halved, which really sucks. And also the stat requirement is tripled. Yeah. So why would we use this? Well, because you're going to need a lot of dexterity for the actual gem itself, and this actually has a pretty low baseline strength requirement. You could actually get Giant's Blood and put 2 soul cores that convert the stat requirement from strength to dexterity. Okay, so you could actually use this. It'll be 114. It'll be 60% of that. So it would be like, let's say 70 strength, and then you triple that. So you need like 210 strength. It's a lot, but it is obtainable. It is a usable item, and it just has good stats. All resist is good. You're probably not attacking very much. Mana regen is good, and shrine buffs. So you're going to have 2 shrine buffs that might, often will, affect your minions. And the damage does not include quality, so you can plus 30% on that. You're going to be pushing like 900 top-end damage for your main hand, rivaling even pretty good talismans. And the reason I'm even mentioning these type of options is because you can use Giant's Blood with the unique mace. So if you're using the unique mace and you have all those dogs that do like 0 damage, well, if you actually invest in a really good one-hand, you might get some damage out of them. So this is a really interesting option for minion army. Now you don't have to use a unique mace. There are a few maces that you can craft on that I wanted to highlight. So a lot of people don't know about the Molten Hammer. This is actually a one-hander, so you don't have to get Giant's Blood. It does have a pretty high strength requirement, but again, you can circumvent that a little bit. At least a little bit. So the Molten Hammer has a hidden line. You've probably seen one drop and just see this, like, wow, the damage sucks. Well, yeah. Obviously, you'd only use this if you were also using, like, the fire stuff. So if you had, like, a Morvac the Infernal as your star, and you're also doing, like, a minion army, companion army type of build, the Molten Hammer is actually a really good choice. It actually has a hidden line. So local weapon implicit hidden % base damage is fire 50. So the actual damage of the Molten Hammer is 118, not 59. Okay. It then, at the very end, at the very final calculation, half of it becomes fire. But this means that you can roll this as you would a normal weapon, where you get a flat fizz roll and 2% fizz rolls. So the true damage of the weapon is actually 118 top end on a one-hander, and that is absolutely unrivaled. nothing comes close to that, okay? Nothing is even remotely close to that. But you do have to debuff the resists of the monsters because you're going to start doing fire. So you're going to be doing like a fire hybrid companion style build if you're doing that. And the other option is the highest weapon, the highest damage weapon in the game, which is it's okay. I would say it's okay. It has a colossal strength requirement. You're going to want to roll like 35% reduction of attributes required. You probably need to spec in the reduced attribute required on the passive tree. It's going to get really messy with this weapon, okay? But if you want actual peak damage for that 60% inherited damage, the Ironwood Great Hammer is your pick, and it will be very challenging to figure that one out. But really interesting stuff. Overall, I hope this has given you some guidance on how you might approach the Spirit Walker next season. There's still a huge number of unknowns, but at least when it comes to the minion options, comparing them, and the weapon options, and comparing those, we actually do have a pretty complete picture. So hopefully I've enlightened a few of you, and hopefully you've enjoyed the video. See you next time.
Thank you, Crip, as usual. Awesome. Awesome. I was not like Nature's Order when you're going to be able to tame the boss. Like, I'm definitely going to go into POE 2 DB and do what Crip did there with looking at their skills and that. Like, what a great insight there. I've never thought of that. Unbelievable. Yeah, good video. Awesome. All right, who do we got next? Who do we get? Oh, we got
Welcome Exiles.
Captain Lance. How long is this?
Hello,
one?
welcome Exiles.
8
Talking about the
minutes.
0.5 Return of the Ancients patch, there's one thing that has me real excited, and that's becoming the ultimate Beastmaster with the new Spirit Walker Ascendancy. I like to make builds based on what's something new that they're going to add to the game, and this by far seemed the most interesting to me. Martial artists had some things going on, but I gotta be honest, this whole fantasy of taming a huge unique boss, like for example, they showcased, hey, you could tame the monkey, or they showcased that you could tame the Cameral, or you could tame the giant bird that kills everybody with a tornado, except it's a frozen version. The point is, this Ascendancy point seems the coolest to me, to become the ultimate Beastmaster, basically a companion build. And I think the stars are aligning, so to speak, for this to maybe work. And I'm going to try to go over a few points.
Hey, what's up next? I just have this weird feeling boss taming is going to be bait. Well, Crip, again, it's my interpretation, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. We just finished watching his video on it. Kind of said that in a way. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Look, the whole zoo build and all, and taming the boss, like all that stuff, who knows, right? It could all be, you tame the beast and then boom, you know what I mean? They do bullshit damage. So we're not going to know till we find out. Then again, and it's also fluid, like, it depends what version of the beast you're taming, Crip highlighted the fact that you're going to want like the mapping ones, the map version, the end game version. You don't want like the campaign version of these bosses. And he also mentioned it's going to be hard to get ones with good affixes on them too. So yeah, like there's so many variables up in the air. And the biggest one too is the fact that we don't know exactly what's happening until Thursday, till we get the patch notes. So, once we get that and there's something in there, the whole dynamic can change. So, but yeah, that's a possibility next.
Of ways this is maybe going to work out. Number one is they're just buffing companion damage. Companion damage is currently right now pitiful, and Mark on the Q&A said they're going to triple it. Right here.
Honestly, I think it might have even been... We've tripled the damage, I think, of tamed beasts.
Tripled the damage of tame beasts. So they're obviously trying to support the play style of, hey, you want to make a build just around companions? We're going to start making it so that your damage is
Keep in mind, triple of 0 is still 0. True.
actually somewhat decent. Another thing to note for this is they are adding items that say, hey, you can have any number of tame beasts barring the soft cap of your reservation space. And built into this scepter is also a special wolf companion itself. So they're adding support for not only the tame beast base damage, they're adding items that will let you get multiple, like a bunch of them. Because currently in the game, the way it is, you can only get one extra tame beast from this right in here, Trusted Kinship. And it comes with a pretty big downside of capsizing your defense with the less defense mod. So, for example, if you go that scepter that lets you get any number of different companions, all of a sudden you don't need to lose your defense, and you can have more than just 2. There's other things that are in the Ascendancy that support this as well. For example, the Spirit Walker Ascendancy has the Katha's Blessing, which allows you to give a bunch of base damage from whatever weapon you are holding to the companion. And one of the ways I thought that could make sense to do this is companions, they're all spirit percentage reservation based. So like if you look here, I just have some examples here. This companion says it requires 42% of my spirit to reserve. Or I look over here, the Dire Tusk Boar. This thing has 39%. They all have a percentage based reservation. It's not flat spirit, which means potentially if we wanted to. Now this would be obviously a large amount of pathing, but let's be honest here. Let's all be straight up. The tree right now, any mid-game to late-game build is just pathing to jewel sockets. Let's not sugarcoat it. So this would be potentially in the cards, which is going to Lord of the Wilds. This cuts our spirit
That's
in half.
a hell of a track.
But that doesn't matter if it's based on a percentage reservation. It would not change our reservation space. It would in terms of you wanted to tag in a little extra aura here or there, but for the most part, if you're just trying to stack a bunch of companions, you're doing a bunch of percentage-based reservations anyways, which would allow you to put on a talisman. And a talisman can have a bunch of flat fizz. They hit almost as hard as two-hand maces. Not quite as hard, but still, you know, you can get in the 700 to 1200. You can get some pretty high fizz damage if you're talking top end of these things, which gives them a large amount of base damage to work with the new Ascendancy. So that's one of the thought processes. You could also maybe go Giant's Blood as well, which I think would allow you to have a two-hand mace plus a scepter. Could potentially be an option. You'd obviously be going like strength stacking with the Heroic Tragedy ES Jewel. Something like that would be the route. But the point is, they're opening up an option to give you a bunch of base damage to your companions. So my thought process is we'll get the big bear. We'll tag in the unique tame beast, which we'll probably try out a bunch of different unique mobs, trying to figure out what does the strongest amount of damage or clear. And then the final option, which I think is just a solid option, is the Idolatry node, which gives you reservation efficiency and percent damage scaling. Just a solid node if we're trying to min-max into having multiple companions. That's kind of the rough thought process. Just some examples of why this has some other things that are kind of neat about it that I kind of like. Is for one, companions can have up to 4 monster modifiers. Now these are all like the Act 3 companions that I'm going to show you here. These are all level 9s. These are not high level monsters. So these are just 2 mod rares, but you'll notice they have some pretty useful things on them. For example, Energy Shield Aura makes everybody near them gain 20% of their life as ES. Or for example, you have Haste Aura, obviously one of the go-tos, gives 20% attack and cast speed and 10% movement speed. You have a bunch of these like extra passive benefits that you can tag onto them where they all help each other out and they help out you, the character. For example, this Haste Aura is just going to make your character feel a lot just more fluid in terms of that you get 10% MS and you get some cast and attack speed if you're trying to like debuff or whatever you're trying to do, use a movement skill. There's a lot of things like this that'll give you defensive powers and additional benefits that are nice. Things like Temporal Bubble on a rare can make the boss or enemy you're fighting much slower, easier to dodge. You get the idea. There's a lot of benefits, so if you're stacking up multiple of these guys, that can layer on pretty strong. There's also a list of monster mods here of different things that are just like focusing on making them deal more damage. Like, for example, you can give them gain damage mods just to increase their DPS output. You can make them put down shocking ground, make them put down cold exposure, stuff like that. There's a array of benefits where if you stack up multiple of them and you get a bunch of different modifiers, you kind of get some neat stuff going on. Caveat to this is it's really annoying to try to get an ideal set of mods on a companion. The reason I have these gems is at one point I was trying to make a character who had a companion with haste aura and another like somewhat useful stat for a build I was playing, and I had to reset a zone over and over and over again for multiple hours just to get the 2 mods I wanted. So although, yes, theoretically, there's a lot of nice combinations that can occur, certain combination of rare mods are going to be very painful to get. So there is that caution there. But that's some of the things that can work together, some of the synergy there of we can have a bunch of mods that they give to me and each other, as well as B, they have multipliers on their damage. I don't really know how this is going to turn out, to be quite honest with you. We don't have patch notes. We're missing a lot of info. Companions right now is not really something you can really make a build out of. Technically, people have done it with like Infernal Legion just based on their life values, but not in terms of them dealing like hit-based damage, at least from what I could find. I try to find some videos of people playing companions as the main damage source, and there just weren't really outside of Infernal Legion. So this is...
Hey, Moises, I don't know. It was fun for you hunting for companions. Yeah. But we've watched now 2 videos, and both Crip and Captain Lance both have said it's going to be a pain in the ass to get the companion with the right modifiers on it. So I don't know about you, and I love, no one likes to farm and grind like me. Like, you know, we play ARPGs, so we definitely, everyone that plays it likes to grind for the most part. But, you know, doing the same zone, like Captain Lance, what did he just say? He spent over 2 hours. You know, I can see how some people will be like, I don't know about that, but well, you know, it is what it is. Thinking about playing Sparrow Walker? Yeah, but I'm not going to go. So, yeah, it is in contention. But I'm not going to go like, you know, 30 minions. I'm not a big minions person. Probably, you know, you're kind of going to be stupid not to take this natural order. Like, why would you not want to have a tame beast? You know, it just makes sense. Well, I guess it doesn't depend. So that's 2. And I'm also like gravitating to these guys, Vivid Stampede and Wild Protector. Now where is, okay, so that's another 2. That's 4. That'll give me 6. And where I'm going over here. We're not pathing over here. Gain a primary owl feather every 4 seconds up to a maximum of 3 when you dodge to trigger primal bounty. And primal bounty empowers skills. Yeah. Okay. So potentially, again, non-builder here. So take this with a very heavy dose of salt. But, you know, I'll probably go, if I do, I'll go natural order for the tame beast. That's 2. Then we go vivid. It's 4. Wild 6. And where's primal? Primal's over here. So 8. All over the fucking map. Whether that makes sense or not, I don't know. But again, these are just like my initial thoughts. This is why I want to start watching all these videos, just to educate myself more on it. And there's already a couple of things just by watching 2 videos. Okay, that I learned.
This is a untested ground.
If it's a pain in the ass, then if you do it successfully, there could be some prestige. Well, it's a pain in the ass. There's not going to be any prestige in the sense that you know, people will just do it and get the beast that they want, right? So, hey, what's up, Sir Groovalot? 2 hours and he's doing 5-minute runs. Yeah, well said, by the way, Next. Yes, Captain Lance is very efficient if you know him. So, exactly. If he's farming an area, he's not like Sammy, where, you know, sometimes it's 5, 6, 7-minute maps. To your point, he's doing like probably even quicker. So, yeah, good point.
We'll put it that way, given the fact that this whole taming a unique boss is a new thing. Maybe there's going to be some really strong ones. Maybe they're going to be undertuned. Who really knows?
Now, remember, natural order looks very, you know, everybody is salivating at it, right? At least that's how I see it. Who knows? Maybe, you know, the first 5, 10, 15, 20 people get natural order and they tame the Silver Fist, and videos start coming out that shit, boys, taming the beast sucks. You know what I mean? Then things are going to change, right? So who knows?
I'm hoping we'll show up and they're just going to be strong, but who really knows? Ultimately, we got another 3 weeks until this launch, another 2 weeks until patch notes. This is just my rough thing I was excited about the most when looking at the reveal.
Everybody's excited about
that's just kind of where I'm at. We'll see when come patch notes. Maybe I'll change my mind about what I want to play, but I'm thinking about League starting a Beastmaster, Spirit Walker, Companion build main is kind of what I'm leaning towards, and that's what I'll probably be making a guide for, barring something changes. Ultimately, we're just waiting for patch notes, and until we get that, it's like, who freaking knows what really is going to happen. Anyways, this is the one video I'm going to make for POE 2 until probably we get more information.
Very good video as usual. This is this is the thing about leagues in Path of Exile 2. It's the best part and the worst part. So the waiting for the new league is the worst part, and the anticipation of the new league is the best part. So it's like it hits you on both sides. Like everybody's like, okay, come on already. Like, let's go, right? What are we? We are 12 days away. 12 days. Whew. We're going to be in single digits soon. 12 days away from May 29th. And we're, 4 days away from the patch notes. So this Thursday, the guesswork is, a lot of it's going to be over, hopefully. Right? Now, they can add stuff after the patch notes, and they have, but we'll see what happens. Like, at least the patch notes is going to give us a good idea. The unfortunate part is, you know, we don't get, no one's going to, you know, all the builds are going to be speculation on the patch notes, right? And that's why, you know, it's unfortunate for someone like me that's stepping into starting to make his own builds. But we're gonna do the best we can with the information we have, and then we'll just have to roll with the punches. More copium, secrets, more hidden classes like Chayula, Monk, and Breach. Your copium is that at least one more ascendancy class to reveal. Yeah, anything's possible. They said they will buff all minions, so probably the skill tree will change too. Yeah, I think in the crypt video and in the Q&A, Mark said that, I think they're going to triple the minion damage. Like, it was pathetic. So yeah, kind of confirmed triple-ish. So yeah. Okay. Who's this? Puget. How long is this video? 10 minutes. Okay.
introduced two brand new ascendancies. One of them is the Huntress subclass, the White Speaker. This ascendancy allows her to infuse her attacks with the power of the three different Azmeri spirits. With this ascendancy, you can choose three different Azmeri spirits that will provide you three different effects, starting with the yellow one, the Vivid Stampede. Every 20 meter you move, you gain a stack up to 3, and when you attack, it will release all of them and starting stampeding over the enemies. The next one is the blue, Primal Bounty. You gain a stack of over feeders every 4 seconds up to 3. When you dodge roll, it will trigger the Primal Bounty, empowering your next projectile skill. The third one is the purple one, Wild Protector. This one is very straightforward, simply summons a bear to fight on your side. This is not counts toward your maximum companion limit, which is by default 1. Luckily, you don't need to choose which one to use, and you getting bonus if you're allocating
Buffing
all 3
companions,
different
not
animal
minions.
spirits. It will unlock the Sacred Unity. It will boost all of them significantly. The bear will take some of the damage you take, the stags will target the enemies directly, the Oathfielder will leave a soaring ground, increasing evasion and the damage you deal. You're not only using Wisp, you can utilize the idols to give you increased damage up to 80% if you don't have any extra sockets on your gear, and you getting reservation efficiency as well up to 60%. The next one is straight up aura farming, the natural order. You can tame unique beasts, which is often means bosses. As in the showcase, you can tame the most dangerous bosses as your pet. In the Q&A, they said they buff these companion bosses when you taming them, so you will dealing with them even more damage, although we will see how this is working out in game, so I would proceed with caution. If you are ascending further, you can get a very good bonuses for this already existing ascendancy notables that you're choosing. So starting with the Vivid Stampede. Gain a Vivid Wisp when Vivid Stampede ends. Stag deals 20% more damage per leap. And you can see here stags leap 4 times. So this is 80% more damage with the last Stampede. But honestly, this is like rolling magma from Path of Exile 1 or in Path of Exile 2 as well. So you need to position yourself a little bit further away from the target to utilize the more damage part, but honestly I think you will not really trying to position yourself that much because the bosses is moving and you also need to dodge sometimes. This will be just a clear increase in my opinion, and Stax has 20% more shock magnitude per leap. The magnitude is how effective is the shock, so normally you would inflict like 20%, let's say, and that is getting boosted by 20% per leap. So if the final leap is shocking the target, it will increase the magnitude by 80%. So that is like almost 40% shock already, which is kind of hefty, but once again you need to position yourself away from the target. The next one is the Primal Bounty. The bonus for this one, this something gift, sorry I cannot pronounce it. Dodging can expand up to 3 of feeders, granting Primal Bounty 100% more empowerment effect per additional feeder expanded. Gain of feeders 50% faster. As you can see already, what is this does, right? So imagine you getting 100% more of this one. So if that is getting boosted by 300%, then you shooting out 8 projectiles. 8 projectile. That is a lot of extra projectile, and honestly one of the skill that is making very good use is the twister that we were seeing in the reveal. But the other thing is that is making beneficial from the additional projectiles and projectile speed. What is that, guys? Yes, the spark. So honestly, maybe spark White Speaker, because you have projectile speed from the ascendancy, additional projectiles, and also increased damage because of the elemental damage increases all through the whole tree that you can access with the Huntress. Looking good, the Spark White Speaker.
This part here looked awesome too. Where is that? Yeah, I'm not gonna find it.
every few seconds that will be used when we dodge roll to empower our next projectile attack, firing more twisters and increasing their speed. But now we want to start to empower our wind ruckus with the elements, gaining significantly more damage. To do that, we take Vivid Stampede, which grants us a Vivid Wisp every 10 meters we travel, which we can do faster by following our soaring ground. And then we expend those wisps to unleash a stampede of stag spirits. Not only do they help kill enemies, they also create shock ground. There you have it. All that combined, we have our Stormbreaker. And for our second build today, we have the Zookeeper. All the way with a whopping a new beast. This build squeezes maximum value regular wolves, 3
We went past it.
to do increasing their speed. We so many twisters, it more resembles a full cyclone.
Yeah, it's right here. It's coming out.
Allocating Wild Protector, Primal Bounty, and Vivid Stampede will unlock a notable that empowers all three, giving them more utilities and features. Thanks to Primal Bounty and the Mucker's Gift, we generate a Primal Owl Feather every few seconds that will be used when we dodge roll to empower our next projectile attack, firing more twisters and increasing their speed. But now, we want to start to empower our Wind Ruckus with the...
Shit, I thought it was coming up there.
First up, inspiration for what to do with her. We've put together...
Anyway, I'm not going to waste my time trying to look for it.
But honestly, this is just a theory for now. And the last one is the Wild Protector that will grant you the bear, right? And it will be the Kachha's Balance. Companions deal additional attack damage equals 60% of your main hand weapon damage. Now it will scale from your weapon as well. I think the best one is the Unpronounceable Gift, because honestly you gaining too much extra damage, especially if your projectiles can shotgun, such as like a Twister and also the Spark as well. And because of this, you already running out almost. And the thing is, guys, I don't know exactly how good will be the Wild Protector, for instance, because it was taking 8% of your damage taken as the companion. So honestly, it's not that big, 8% damage reduction, yes, but honestly, if you're not investing to companion life, the companion will be getting killed very often, and it will feel very, very bad. Next part of the Ascendancy, guys, as you can see here, let's start with the Sacred Unity. So first, you need to allocate all of the free spirit Ascendancy notables, and then this will getting unlocked. This is free to allocate, and this will provide you Embrace the Void. The Vivid Stacks will leap towards enemies, because honestly, from this wording, guys, it feels like the stacks will just starting running where you looking at or where you attacking, and basically that's it. But now maybe they will start targeting enemies as well, so maybe it can chain as well between the packs. So honestly, that is okay in my opinion. And the next one is the central projectiles of all feeder and power skills leave a trail of soaring ground, and as you can see here, the soaring ground is granting you 30% increase evasion rating and 40% increased damage while on full life. And the other one is the Embrace the Void from the bear. This will grants you 2% maximum life regen per second. Honestly, that is kind of weak in my opinion, and the companion will take 8% of your damage that you would take. I think this is kind of weak to that one, but all the other ones is looking kind of okay, especially the Vivid Stacks leaping towards the enemies, because that is once again more clear improvement, not single target improvement, because honestly, I don't know, guys, running around in the boss fight continuously, it feels kind of terrible idea already. So most of the time I think you will 1 or 2 tap the boss with good gear. So this Sacred Unity maybe you will not taking, and also not even taking taking the bear at all. You will taking down there the vivid one and the blue one here, and basically that's it. Idolatry. So guys, this is why I said you can get a damage increase from your idols. So companions deals 10% increase damage per idol in your equipment. Now you would say, but that is for companion, right? That's correct. But don't forget, we have a notable increase and reductions to companion damage also applies to you. Basically, that is free damage increase. Although, now guys, so most of the time when we using runes in our gear, right? That is to fix majority of the time the chaos resistance or just increase the evasion or energy shield numbers on the gear. And honestly, sacrificing this one and also sacrificing in your weapon the additional damage ones is kind of weird. And also the other thing is we gaining a lot of new runes as well in this league, 150, right? And then so how you will play this one? So this is looking good on paper but not good in the practice, in my opinion. And the next one is the natural order. Tame beasts can capture unique beasts. So once again, this is the bosses literally. And as you can see here, they have increased movement speed and also they randomly possessed by auxiliary spirits every 20 seconds. And honestly, guys, don't forget guys, the tame beast has reservation as well. Very important, guys. This is not free, okay? This is not free. So you will need to reserve your spirit for this. So if you're using this, you need to give up maybe like defensive option or offensive option or clear option from your spirits, because this is percentage based spirit, not flat spirit. So the more spirit you will have, the more reservation this will take up. And also very, very important, guys, we don't know exactly how much damage these bosses can deal or what they can do or how smart they will be or how annoying it will be, and maybe they will body blocking you as well. So, and also sometimes maybe you will mistaken on a boss and you will trying to dodge your companion attack while the boss is attacking and you dodge rolling into it. So guys, this is the White Speaker Ascendancy, and honestly this looking very promising in my opinion, and I'm very excited for it. And honestly, maybe I will try the Twister build with this one, because Huntress made for that as well, because you have a lot of access to the spear stuff on the tree. And also this Ascendancy is literally tailored to that one. So once again, little bit pre-made-ish build, but honestly it will be fun either way. Till then guys, I hope you enjoyed this short review. If you have any question, please.
Well, I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Is that it? Oh, no. Okay. Oh, my God. Snoobay. 35 minutes. What is he talking about? Okay. We don't need to watch the reveal. We watched that already. Spirit Walker Deep Dive. Oh, okay. Martial Artist? Nope. I don't care about that. All right. So we got about 26 minutes here. What are you thinking about Spirit Walker, Sammy? Kind of like what he said. I'm more of oh, what is this? No. I'm definitely not this. No way. I'm not playing this. I'm not playing the zoo build. I'm kind of more in...
And wild.
Like the beginning of this
The Vivid
showcase.
Path conjures stampeding stags when you attack. Vivid Stampede gives you extra damage, area coverage, and shocking capabilities.
I'm still...
If you want to really focus on the stags, the Morrigan's Guidance lets you create even more stampedes with even more damage, trampling your enemies into dust.
So...
The Primal Path, meanwhile, is all about projectiles.
And there's the one...
The owl grants you boons in the form of their feathers,
like just
which can be spent to add extra projectiles to your next skill.
The amount of tornadoes, you know, kind of like...
If you'd rather unleash the occasional barrage, easier for me the Mucker's Gift lets you store up and use multiple feathers at once. And if you're really keen, The owl feathers work on spells too.
This one right here. Like this looks fucking awesome. The owl's feathers work
And
on,
if you're really keen, the owl feathers work on spells too.
like that looks good. Bait or valid leak starter? I don't know. We're gonna find out. If GG adds more companion stuff on Atlas, then GG should also add the companion skill that is meant for mercenary technician. Passive tree, not Atlas. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting how this potentially could open up, you know, companions in general. To your point, but who knows? Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not going to get into, you know, having a zoo and all that kind of stuff. I want to stick with the core, like, skills of the Huntress and then lean in on some of these ascendancies on it. Like, I don't think I'm going here adultery or whatever it's called. Again, very fresh, like these three. But he concerned me with saying this is not going to be, you know, big. It's going to die a lot. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see. What do I got here? Okay, Snoobay.
Description, it'll link you straight to these. I pulled them up on Reddit. Information front and center. So we don't have patch notes, but we already have everything written down here. Again, subject to change. The Spirit Walker looks very interesting. Got the whole, that's the one with the whole unique monster, unique beast tamed. There's a couple of ascendancy points here that look especially strong with projectile builds, like Twister, especially Twister. They are color-coded in the blue here. So you can see the start location bottom right. And then the first ascendancy point would be this blue one, followed up by the second blue one. And that is almost certainly the order you would go with if you were to run this ascendancy with Twister in mind. So we can read down here, the skill is unlocked Primal Bounty. Now this is a free ascendancy skill. It'll show up on your skill bar. It does not take place of one of the 8 or one of the 9 skills. You don't need an unset ring to unlock it. It's basically free, and then you can also put support gems in there. However, it's important to take a look at the tags to anticipate what support gems will be available. Not really much there, so it's probably going to be relegated to just increased levels, Dialas, for example, which could be very strong, would increase some of the numbers here. We might also, because it has to do with empowered skills, might work with the whole empowered skills cull enemies, or skills empowered through the skill cull enemies. I think that might be the only other legitimate support that would work. No duration tags. You can't use like compressed duration, which we'll see would be really nice. Let's read it now. Empowers the next projectile skill you use, causing it to create additional projectiles and fly faster. That would be additional twisters, and the twisters move faster. 2 scalars that are extremely powerful for Twister. Empowered skills fire 2 additional projectiles. Empowered skills have 68% increased proc speed. And then effects from quality, which is kind of difficult to acquire. Again, Dialas would be something that could get this. I think if you had that on there, it'd be an additional 15% increased projectile speed. But yeah, you can't actually gem cutter on this. Anyway, that just looks super strong right off the bat. So let's see how it's triggered. We look up top. It says grants skill Primal Bounty. Gain a Primal Owl Feather every 4 seconds. Up to a maximum of 3 owl feathers. Expend an owl feather when you dodge to trigger Primal Bounty. You can tell based on the wording of how the Spirit Gem, which has been in the game forever, is, well, that's exactly what it means here for the Spirit Walker. So in the event that you dodge, you expend the owl feather and get this buff for the following projectile cast. It sounds really nice. So I'm using Twister as a cast or attack every few seconds, naturally, because we're lining up Barrage and Salvo support, and then we just add this. So it would be kind of a 1, 2, 3 combo. Let's quickly take a look and remind you about what all 3 of those would look like together. So here's Barrage. It's a little bit weird with how it works with cooldowns and everything, because you can use second wind support, make the cooldown longer, but it can kind of overlap its cooldown reset, and that tends to be the best way to use it. Or you can just use cooldown recovery. So either way, it's not the one that's typically time gates your Twister attack. Usually that's Salvo. So if I go in here and look at Salvo support, that's the other big player, which is also contributing to adding projectiles. And this one is much more hardline time gated. It can have its internal cooldown reduced through means of unleash, a seal reduction rate. So that's like anticipation on the passive tree, even though there's no descriptor whatsoever for Salvo. That programming still works, and I'm led to assume that it will still work in the following league. In fact, that leads me to probably the most secret tech catch that I was able to retrieve from the reveal, is that we're getting new ring affixes that will reduce the seal reset rate of Unleash, which will probably apply to Salvo support as well, which could mean those ring affixes would be the best affix that you could possibly get on rings for your typical Salvo Barrage Twister build. So that's Salvo, that's Barrage. Salvo just gives you additive projectiles 2, 4, and 6 for up to 3 seals. Very similar to what we're seeing here with the new Spirit Walker Ascendancy with those owl feathers. And then Barrage is a little different. Multiplicatively increases the number of projectiles by repeating the attack. So any sort of additive projectiles you're stacking on makes Barrage way more powerful. 2 copies of the skill automatically, plus 1 for each additional frenzy charge you have. Most builds will have a max of 3, 4, maybe 5 frenzy charges, and we do have heightened charge support, which gives a 20% chance to double the effectiveness of those. So it's not 2 plus 1 per frenzy charge, it's 2 plus 2 per frenzy charge 20% of the time, or 70% of the time if you're a Deadeye. That's the Deadeye's most powerful frenzy charge tech. That's why it's so crazy strong with Deadeye, which I'll save a few comments for Deadeye versus Spirit Walker a little bit later. But anyway, you can already kind of see how if you're lining up Barrage, Salvo, and the owl feathers from here, that's going to be a lot of additive projectiles on top of repeat attacks. And the number can very quickly scale up to 50, 60, 80, 100 projectiles at once, with a little bit of time passing by. That leads us to the second ascendancy point, the Macha's Gift, or Macha's Gift, not sure how to say it. Dodging, dodge rolling, can expend up to 3 owl feathers, not 1, granting Primal Bounty 100% more empowerment effect per additional feather expended. There was some confusion the other day in the stream, where people thought that this means that we were going to have double the effect of all of these buffs, not 2 or 4 or 6, but it was going to be like 4, 8, or 12 additional projectiles and like some insane prog speed. No, the keyword here is additional, so it's 100% more per additional feather expended. So basically you're just doubling, you're just getting the effect compounded all at once, using 3 owl feathers in one attack and getting 3 times the normal benefit that you would have there. Gain owl feathers 50% faster, might be a little confusing too. That does not mean you're doubling the rate of owl feathers. It didn't go from 4 to 2 seconds. It goes from 4 to 3 seconds. If it was 4 to 2 seconds, it would say 100% faster. That would actually be double the rate. So gain a primal owl feather every 3 seconds, up to a maximum of 3, and expend all owl feathers when you dodge to trigger Primal Bounty for a total of 6 additional projectiles and roughly 200% increased prog speed. So that would be a total of 9 seconds to get that full power. That's how I read it. That's definitely the most conservative read on it. I could be wrong with the wording here, but I believe that's what it's going to be. So if you can imagine having to wait 9 seconds to get 6 additional flat projectiles with massive 200% prog speed, I mean, it sounds pretty good. I will say, though, 9 seconds is kind of a long time in terms of the dynamic, fast-paced play of Twister and Salvo.
It seems like an
eternity. I'm waiting for all 3 Salvos to be up, that's going to be about a 4 to 5 second time, so it's about half the time. So what that means in terms of gameplay is either you would kind of do 1 on, 1 off, 1 on, 1 off, 0 owl feathers, 3 owl feathers, 0 owl feathers, 3 owl feathers, and kind of play it that way, and because you would only dodge every other time you use Twister. Or if you're like me, we'll probably just kind of enter the flow state and just dodge after every twister cast. And basically every time you would either have 1 owl feather or 2 activated. It would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's how the timing would probably play out. But you do have extra control here because you're waiting on the dodge roll. So you choose when to dodge roll. That gives some benefit for, you know, burst damage cases, bossing especially, which is one of Twister's, I think, one of the only sort of weaknesses. Depends on the scenario, depends on the arena, the boss hitbox, and Deadeye kind of gets around that one weakness pretty well. But that is a good news for bossing in particular, that you have extra control on when to push out all that damage. So that's a lot of math to consider. So let's take a quick break and show you what it actually looks like in game. Fortunately, the reveal footage features a twister build here. That's a normal cast right there, and you can see how fast they move, typical speed. And then voila, after the dodge roll, 3 owl feathers consumed at once, and it just moves absolutely crazy. It's kind of like almost like being a lich. Okay, the other build that went crazy scaling on projectile speed was the lich, and so you're kind of getting some of that power here as well. Great build, by the way. I never played it, but I have seen it, and so that's definitely one worthy of consideration as well. Honestly, Twister can be played on so many different ascendancies, but at any rate, we're looking at Spirit Walker here, and again, this is part of the reveal footage, so I'd highly recommend you take a look at this here. We also have, what we're about to look at is Sacred Unity, another ascendancy that looks a little bit promising. Soaring Ground is featured after the Twister cast, and you can kind of see it there. It looks a little bit like Burning Ground. You just want to quickly point out that it does not pick up the Twister Elemental Ground. It's not part of Elemental Grounds, and that character had lightning twisters on account of wearing Wake of Destruction. Apparently, you can see the shocked ground that he was walking around with. So let's get back to looking at the different ascendancy points, deep dive. Let's get into more of the math. Here we'll zoom in to Sacred Unity. It says available only if you allocate Wild Protector, Primal Bounty, and Vivid Stampede. Primal Bounty and the 2 ascendancy points. That row was one of the 3, and so in order to unlock this, it's a free point, evidently free point, if you choose to use your other 2 ascendancy points available on Wild Protector and Vivid Stampede. We'll look at those in a second, but just want to point out this is where it talks about Soaring Ground, grants 30% increased evasion rating and 40% increased damage while on full life to you and allies standing on it. It's a pretty steep conditional, doesn't sound like the greatest thing in the world. I wish it was like, say, 20% more damage and 20% more evasion. It would be nice, since the ascendancy point like feels like it might be worthy of percent more multipliers. I know that Deadeye has percent more multipliers on a few other points I don't typically take. At any rate, that is what Soaring Ground gives. And if we scroll down here, we can take a look at Wild Protector. Call upon a Bear Spirit Companion. This is the only one that's actually a companion of the 3 we're looking at. Mauls your foes. Bear Spirit is apparently free, reservation cost, also because it's unlocked via Ascendancy. Maims your enemies. Leeches life with the slams. I think they're reworking Leech, so it could be a little bit meaningful there. Gets Intimidate on the enemies. That is kind of a big deal. Intimidate's a hard debuff to get on there. It makes monsters take 10% increased damage, I believe. A particular scalar that is kind of difficult to achieve. It would be similar to Shock, for example. Bear Spirit does not count towards your companion limit, so not only doesn't count for reservation, doesn't count for companion limit either. And then we can see here that it has additional effects for quality that probably wouldn't be all that meaningful unless you are all about making a build revolving around minions doing damage. I'm not, personally. I'm always just looking at, if I'm looking at minions at all, I'm looking at minions boosting my own damage. And then we have Vivid Stampede, which is a sort of in between. It's not really you, and it's not really a companion either, but for the sake of the math, I think it's going to be classified as you. Gain a Vivid Wisp for every 20 meters you move. A stipulation that's very easy to achieve for Twister with all the whirling slash we're moving around. Remember Garrican's Flight pre-nerf, or what some people might consider pre-buff, depending on who you are. It was definitely a nerf for how easy it was to move 20 meters back then. Anyway, up to a maximum of 3. So if you move 60 meters, you would have 3 of these. Expend all Vivid Wisps that you have at the time to trigger Vivid Stampede when you attack. Now, Whirling Slash is itself an attack, and so if you were moving in that way, you wouldn't ever acquire 3 Stampedes at once. you'd only have one at once, and it would just constantly go off. A very, very high uptime. Internal cooldown of 0.3 seconds. So that's to stop you from like Giga Chain blinking with Temporalis or something. That's, you know, you're not moving 20 meters in 0.3 seconds. Normally it would be, you know, maybe 1 second. Anyway, it's got a high attack damage multiplier. Probably not going to matter a whole lot. And it says, call upon spirits of the stag, sending them leaping forward. Each stag releases a damaging shockwave each time that it lands. Damaging shockwave is nice. So this is likely going to be some sort of mechanism to support with shock. There's a whole lot of shock supports that can be considered there. Converts 60% of physical damage to lightning. Shockwave radius is 2 meters, so it's nice shockwave. Stag leaps 4 times, and so we've kind of seen that with wisps in game. You've probably at least seen this animation before that the monsters normally have. Increased quality effects for shockwave radius. Not that insane. So if we go up here and we take a look at bear and stag. So bear is, you know, giving you a little bit of leech, giving, you know, debuffing enemies, intimidate, and giving you, you know, a few other buffs according to the Sacred Unity. Bear Spirit also grants you Embrace of the Wild. If we read that, it says protects the Bear Spirit allies while they are in its presence. So you got to be somewhat near it. 2% maximum life regenerated per second. Probably not going to matter very much for the sort of recovery that we normally have with Twister. But it also causes 8% of damage you would take normally to be taken by the Bear Spirit instead. So I don't know if the Bear Spirit dies or how much life it has, but anyway, that's nice. I mean, that's probably going to be functionally 8% damage reduction to the player. That's not too terrible when you're stacking it up with 40% increased damage, conditional with an evasion and all that stuff. And then the one for stag says vivid stag leaps towards enemies. Leaps towards enemies. Well, I mean, it already said that it said here that it leaps forward, but I guess it just means it leaps in their direction. I don't know exactly the difference there, but keyword leap, because that has some very interesting ramifications with Twister when we consider one specific support gem available. There is a support gem called Shocking Leap. Support skills that leap into the air and deal damage, which is, I mean, it's worded like word for word. That's what the stag does, causing them to create shocked ground the first time they critically hit an enemy. Supported skills create shocked ground for 4 seconds when they critically hit no more than once per skill use. Shocked ground created this way has a radius of 2 meters. Now, it doesn't specifically say it has to be a skill you use, but again, this is the sort of in between you and a companion. It's a proc, but it is a skill you use. It's an ascendancy skill. It's kind of in that nebulous area, but I will say, having played the Invoker's Elemental Expression, that counts as a proc that can proc other things. Like, that skill is capable of procking all sorts of other things, even though normally in this game you're not allowed to have procs proc other things. In the event that it's a specialized ascendancy proc skill, it seems to have an override to do that, or at least it does for the Elemental Expression from the Invoker. There's some really good insight for you guys in case you weren't aware of that. So I would say it's a very high likelihood that you can pretty easily socket Shocking Leap into your skill, Vivid Stampede, and be running an already extremely high critical strike chance, maybe put in pinpoint critical if you want to guarantee it, and you would have a lot of shocked grounds going out again with a very low cooldown. All you gotta do is move 20 meters and those things are going to go off, and then they hit like several times in a giant pack of enemies or even single target. Should be pretty reliable source of elemental ground, and that's a big deal for those of you who know in the end game. It's kind of one of these weird problems you have to solve. Initially solved with Wake of Destruction normally in a trade league, you just wear that, but at the very end you kind of want to have some better gear. You know, you want to have like some real boots that have real stats on them, and so it's nice when you can drop those to get your elemental ground in some other way. So that happens to be the 4 ascendancy points that I would likely take if I went for Spirit Walker. Primal Bounty, the Macha's Gift, and then Sacred Unity, which is unlocked by taking Wall Protector as well as Vivid Stampede. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 there, and you're getting the 5th one for free. But let's not leave any stone unturned. Let me show you what the other ascendancy points are, any sort of comments that come to mind when we were looking at it on stream the other day. And we'll also take a look at the martial artist. Not going to spend much time over there, unfortunately, because we got all the good stuff out of the way real quick, I think. On the back end of Wild Protector, we have another ascendancy point, the Karthus Balance, which looks to be very strong if you want the build to buff your minions' damage. It's not going to be something that I do, but I mean, that is a pretty big number.
Yeah,
60%
I'm not doing
gain
that either.
of your main hand weapon damage granted to companions' attack damage. Could be pretty nice. On the back end of Vivid Stampede, we have the Morgan's Guidance, which is at least a little bit more relevant to the way I would play. Gain a Vivid Wisp when Vivid Stampede ends. Get it for free, whether you move 20 meters or not. Okay. Stags deal 20% more damage per leap. Again, it's your damage. I think it's classified as your damage, not a actual companion's damage. Stags have 20% more shock magnitude per leap. So anytime I see percent more
Per leap.
shock
And there's 4
magnitude,
leaps.
that's a good pairing of words there. I mean, that's going to be a lot of effective damage. And keep in mind, there's still a whole bunch of other gem slots that can be put into
80%
the skill
to
Vivid
be
Stampede. You
exact.
could put overcharge support in there. You could even offset some of the downside on that by putting, I can't remember the name of it, a support gem that turns your ground effects into consecrated ground, or makes it double up ground. So you'd have shock ground inside consecrated ground. You could stand on that as well as soaring ground and get all kinds of additional cool buffs that would kind of help, you know, shock offset. You're self-shocking, but you're also not taking that much effect.
Wow,
Pretty interesting things that you could do there, but again, I would probably dedicate that skill to everything shock related, not really about damage. There might be a few other weird things in there like culling strike or something, I'm not sure, but anyway, moving on, we have up top Idolatry. Companions deal 10% increased damage per idol in your equipment. Now, this is actually better than percent more damage to companions because this is something that you can get yourself. There is a passive skill point, notable, that transforms, or not transformed, but you get the same benefits of percent increased damage that your companions get. I think it's like 5 passive deep on the tree line that you would normally path anyway, and you get a few extra percent increased damage points regardless. I've considered using that in the past. It doesn't quite seem worth it, generally speaking, just by itself. Although, if you pair it with this, and idols are some of the most powerful socketables in the game, you're going to use one
And mucho expensive.
per character, per gear slot. But there's definitely at least one in the helmet slot that you normally do. I think it's for like area of effect and the glove slot. That's the increased attack speed and maybe... Actually, I think movement speed is different. Well, we don't really care that much about movement speed, actually. Anyway, we also have some increased reservation efficiency of skill per idol in your equipment. That could make or break a build. It could be build enabling if you have that. It comes with a pretty nasty downside here. 4% minus all res per non-idol augment in your equipment. That sounds like it hurts pretty bad. Normally you'd use a lot of runes and soul cores, so that would be a lot of minus max res. Probably not going to take that one. The natural order is the X Factor one. It's one a lot of people are talking about, where you can tame a unique beast. People were talking about the monkey boss from Act 3. They were talking about the bird boss from Ultimatum. They were talking about, or not talking about, but you know, there are several others. A few people in our chat were talking about the shark boss maybe, or the Devourer is the only one that kind of interested me, because the suggestion was that maybe the Devourer would mess with the arena availability of areas. Like, so if you go do Mudburrow and do the Devourer, the arena actually shrinks over time because of what he does to the arena. And if you're shrinking the arena, you're actually making Twister better, which should be kind of interesting. Or you might also mess with it in a negative way where the Twisters can't move around freely either. I'm kind of curious about that, but I'm probably not going to do this unless there's some insane synergy there. And if there is, it's probably broken and it'll be patched out. I'm not even aware of a unique beast boss that grants an elemental ground reliably either. So that would be one of the big things I might consider it for. You guys can let me know. It's definitely something I would love to hear about in the comments if you have any special ideas. Whether it's about Twister or not, that could be it's definitely the most fascinating ascendancy point in the build, all things considered. So that is the Spirit Walker. That is everything to say on her. Then we have...
Wow. I'm I'm really glad I watched this video because it looks like Snoobay's kind of having the same thought process as far as how he wants to build his Spirit Walker. I'm kind of in line with what he wants to do as well. So interesting. Very, very interesting. Another good take, good video. What was the other one? What is this one? Potential leak starter Spirit Walker Twister getting buffs. Ooh, looks like, okay, Arrow, what do you got?
We mountain-born hold the spirit dear. But I seek not just to hold it. I seek to become its champion, like the Asmiri of old. I seek to become a Spirit Walker.
And the thing I like about doing like a Twister build, number one, that's what Huntress is known for. And you get it. Like, it's something that you play early on. So, you know, it'll be a
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Arrow, and today I want to talk about the Spirit Walker buffs that have already happened. Grinding Gear Games released a showcase yesterday that included some more detailed information about the Spirit Walker Ascendancy and revealed some major buffs, particularly for Twisters on League Start. This Ascendancy lends itself so much to playing Twisters that I won't spend too much time explaining how it works, but let's quickly go over the Ascendancy nodes that are crucial here.
Yeah, it looks.
So we start with Primal Bounty. Primal Bounty is an Ascendancy node that also grants a skill called Primal Bounty, where you gain a Primal Owl Feather every 4 seconds up to a maximum of 3. When you dodge roll, you expend all of the feathers that you have to gain additional projectiles and projectile speed. With the Matcha's gift, you will get 100% more empowerment per additional feather expended. I assume that means after the first. So that means up to 6 projectiles and a couple 100% speed. This also makes you gain owl feathers 50% faster. So instead of 4 seconds, it will be 3 seconds. We will take the Companion Bear for its bonuses, and then also Vivid Stampede. Vivid Stampede creates stags that charge out when you attack, and they've got some incredibly powerful buffs that we'll get into. So lastly, we're going to take the secret node that is unlocked if you have all 3 companions, and that has been buffed as well, which we will get into. So that is basically the core of the build, and I was really excited to try it out. I spent a few hours on stream the other day trying to figure out a cheeky way to not have to use the Wake of Destruction 10 move speed boots that give you shocked ground. In order to play Twisters, you pretty much have to have an elemental ailment ground so that the tornadoes can pass over it, absorb the ground, and get additional damage. In the past, there are a couple of ways to solve this. You could use a companion, finding a mob that gives shocked or chilled ground, or you could use the Wake of Destruction boots, which I really don't like because they have 10 move speed, and I was hoping for a newer, more modern solution. So I came across Shocking Leap, a support that I've used before, and thought, oh, maybe it could apply to the stags. The stags do say that they leap. Maybe that'll work. We'll have to see. It's pretty risky, but who knows? Well, Grinding Gear Games has released a new showcase that shows that the stags already have shock built in. So let's see what has been added to Vivid Stampede. So shocked ground duration lasts 4 seconds is a new line. And also in the text above, it says any stags that travel the maximum possible distance also leave behind shocked ground. I'm not sure what would stop them from traveling the maximum distance, so that's something that we're going to have to sort out. So on top of leaving shocked ground after traveling their max distance, there's also a 50% more chance to shock, which is a really, really important thing. We are going to be scaling attack damage, so the Vivid Stampede will get that, but we won't necessarily be using a ton of damage supports in here, so more chance to shock will be really important. The fact that this shocked ground is built into this skill and not built into the boots means you can actually scale the shock as well. So you could use something like lightning exposure, which gives you exposure on enemies when you shock them. You can use overcharge, which gives you more magnitude of shocks, provided you could get some shock mitigation for yourself. And you can even use something like innervate, which gives you attack damage gained as lightning when you kill a shocked enemy with supported skills. I can't say exactly how often that'll be up, but these stags will definitely be doing enough damage to kill. Another really cool thing about this is these are automated. You don't have to do anything to make the stags work. You don't have to press any buttons. They are just triggered when you attack. Another buff to the stags, Mark actually said in the video that it's every 10 meters that you travel and not 20 meters. 10 meters is not very much in PoE, particularly when you get some move speed in the end game. So we'll need to travel half as far to generate all of our stags. I actually think there's probably a decent stag build to be made, but we'll let somebody else figure that out. So these stags will get triggered when you use your Whirling Slash. Whirling Slash helps you build up more tornadoes. There'll already be stags out and shocked ground out, so that when you release those tornadoes, there's nothing else that you have to do. So, assuming you take the boar, the owl, and the stags, you unlock a secret new ascendancy notable. It's free to allocate, so that means you can still take a 4th point. So number 1, it makes your stags leap towards enemies, which is really useful because then that shocked ground is actually underneath enemies, particularly on bosses. But then for mapping, you're actually going to get some extra clear out of it. Those stags will be targeting enemies in all directions. And not that Twister really needs it, but it's always nice to have more coverage. Next, it makes you so your bear grants you a buff. You will have 2% regen if you're in the presence of the bear. And also you're going to take 8% less damage.
You're selling me,
so
Arrow.
No changes to that, but pretty nice. 8% less damage taken is a pretty solid buff, and regen is very hard to come by. Given how frustrating it can feel to deal with dots in this game, any regen is very welcome. So, and lastly, it gives soaring ground from the owl. It says the central projectile of owl feather empowered skills leaves a trail of soaring ground. So soaring ground before gave 30% evasion, 40% increased damage on full life, and lasted for 4 seconds. That has been majorly changed and buffed. The new soaring ground grants both evasion and damage, but it also gives onslaught when you're standing on the ground. Onslaught's not super easy to get in this game like it is in PoE 1, so this is a really, really big buff. It also says these effects linger for 1 second, which means you can kind of go on and off of the ground and keep the onslaught buff alive. Lastly, soaring ground has a 6-second base duration instead of 4 seconds as previously noted. Now, if you look at the gameplay of these twisters when they're moving really quick, they're kind of covering the screen in these soaring ground lines, which means as you run, you're going to be on and off of them, but provided it's only a second or less in between the time that you touch it, you're going to have onslaught a lot of the time. Also, because it's the central projectile, you can kind of aim it where you're going, and you can follow along that trail for a little while until you need to cast again. This soaring ground buff is really, really big. So all of this is to say this is probably going to be my league starter. I'm going to be doing some league start testing over on stream, twitch.tv/AER0__. So stop by, check me out, drop that Twitch Prime. I have played Twisters before, but there's some new tech for leveling that I'm going to be checking out from That's Real Nito. So shout out to Nito for his ice-tipped arrows version of leveling this skill. You can use Twisters right away, which I love. And it looks like with this ice-tipped arrows added effect, the leveling process is going to be pretty smooth. So hoping for no nerfs to Twisters in the patch notes this week, but we'll have to wait and see. So make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. All of those things really do help. I appreciate you all so much.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching.
Awesome. Awesome video. Speaking my language, Arrow. Nice. Yeah. The more I think about it, I didn't hear anything tonight that goes against kind of my thought process. Now it's just a matter of putting it all together, but it's the other thing that I appreciate from watching these videos tonight is it's doable. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be super complicated. So the Twister build, the Twister, Huntress, Sparrow Walker, doable. Very doables. I was worried that it was going to be ass. And again, we don't know until we get the patch notes and everything. Like everyone said tonight, all the content creators that we watched tonight, basically, everybody puts that caveat in their videos. You know, anything can change. It all can change. So we'll see. Anyway, love it. I'm gonna definitely got some good tips and get some really good information from these guys tonight. So this is kind of what we're gonna do leading up to the new league. Obviously, with the new build, quality of life improvement, where we're going to be able to import builds, one of those steps is going to be actually going in and putting this together on the tree, putting it on, you know, lining up the skills, the equipment, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to take a while. So 2 weeks is going to go by quick. That's for sure. It's not a lot of time. The other thing I want to do is I want to custom. I never customized my item filter. So I want to do that. And I said last week that typically I do all this stuff off stream. But what I'm going to do is, you know, because hopefully you guys watch me struggle through this and put stuff together and make mistakes and try to figure stuff out. And so hopefully watching me do it will either inform you, teach you something, you know, give you something maybe that you don't make the mistake. You know what I mean? It's just when you're watching someone do something, you know, hopefully you're going to pick up something as well. And that'd be awesome because I know there's a lot of people that are going to be playing, you know, they're new to the game. So will I deep dive patch notes when they drop? Not really, Charles, because first of all, there are a lot of amazing creators that are way more knowledgeable with how things interact. You know what I mean? They know how things work way more in depth than I do. So like a deep dive, typically what I do with, and this is going to be massive patch notes. It's going to be big. So we've had some big patch notes in the past. Typically what I do is I pick, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 big ticket items, and I kind of focus on that. Yeah. Now, maybe in the future, if I elevate my knowledge more, know more about how everything works and how everything, you know, interacts as far as damage and like all that, it's then maybe, but not really. I don't go into the weeds with the patch notes. Not line by line. No. Like I said, there's many more great content creators that would do a much better job analyzing the patch notes, like deep dives. So we'll let them do it. They're good at it. Would like the Sammy summary. Yeah, I always have a summary on stuff like that. So yeah. Hopefully it's valuable. Anyway, that's going to be the next 2 weeks, boys and girls. And yeah, it's going to be, you know, some nights we might just be talking for a couple hours. Some nights we might be going longer. I would imagine the closer we're getting to it, that's when I'm going to, you know, there's certain things that are probably going to take a while. Like I can't imagine how many streams doing the tree, you know, putting the skill tree together is going to be, I would imagine a couple of streams easy. I would also think maybe even the loot filter might be a labor intensive process. I really want to hone in on all of that. What else? Definitely. I'm gonna try to do. I've never utilized Path of Building from a creation standpoint, like actually going in POB and making a build, adding items and all that kind of stuff. So I'm probably gonna show that as well, and hopefully there's some advanced users of POB in the stream, and they'll be able to add their 2 cents while I'm doing it. I'm still so glad there's a lot of time before 1.0. I would have been freaking out if the game came out in 12 days. Yeah, there's a lot to do. So just, I did a tweet today that for those of you that don't, and most of you probably already know this, but there are some things, like there's some prep that you can do, whether you want to rush 0.5 or not. It's still, in my mind, it's still good to be organized. At least that's how I see it. So I tweeted today, one of the preps that you can do. So your stash tabs are, they get all reset in the new league, right? So you can organize them before the league starts. And that's what I tweeted today. All you have to do is go into the standard league, create a character there in whatever mode you plan on playing in 0.5. So let's say you plan on playing solo self-found in 0.5. Go into standard league, create a character in solo self-found, organize your stash there, and however you organize it there, that's exactly how it's going to be in 0.5. So when you go into town, right off the bat, all your stash tabs are organized, and you're not wasting, depending on how many stash tabs you have. Something very easy, not a big deal. Some people might say, who gives a shit? Like, it literally takes me 5 minutes to organize. But some people, you don't want to be wasting time organizing your stash tabs. We got new content to get through. Everyone's going to be excited to just start killing shit. So little tidbits like that, I'll start tweeting about it as it pops into my mind. That's the one that popped into my mind today, so I tweeted about it. But all these little things just make a super giga league like this is going to be, it looks like, just more seamless, But yes, we need we need this time. Now, if I was just following a build guide like I typically did, I'd probably be a little bit more antsy because, I would just pick a build and that's it. I'm good. I'm following someone, so I don't. But I'm literally going to be playing what I create this time, so there's and I'm new to it, so it's going to be I'm very nervous about it. Very nervous about it. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I think we're gonna do okay with this Twister Huntress Spirit Walker. It looks like kind of where I like, because we did play the Twister Huntress when we were kind of screwing around. Well, at the time, I kind of wanted to just get another feel for the areas and kind of start memorizing stuff more. Now that's pointless because most of the areas are all changing. So map layouts, just throw it out the window in 0.5. It's all changing apparently. So, but anyway, so it felt good. I wasn't overly disappointed about the feel. It does good damage, and with all this stuff coming with the ascendancies and stuff, like this is I think it's going to be nice. And it sounds like, Arrow mentioned it, that there's some ice tip. I'm going to go check that out, maybe I'll save it for tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, so it's looking good. Anyway, we're going to call it, guys. And thanks for watching. Peace. Good night. And yeah, good luck if you haven't picked the build yet for 0.5. It sounds like everyone that I'm asking and is in stream and like on my videos, sounds like, pretty much everybody kind of has an idea what they want to do. Some people are hemming and hawing, but anyway, it's exciting times, man. Exciting times. We're 4 days away from the patch notes. We're getting the patch notes on Thursday. What time Thursday? So obviously, if the patch notes come before I stream, then we'll look at the patch notes that night. Or maybe they're not going to drop until later, and if they drop midstream, we'll pop it up as soon as they come available. So that's also this week. And then really, we're gonna pop into 5th gear after the patch notes. That's for sure. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.